everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do my update for my Pan That palette. I have been working on the e.l.f. Retro Paradise the last couple months, and yeah, it is my Pan That palette for this year. I feel like there's been some progress. I do have some shades that have changed, other shades I haven't touched at all. But I'm struggling a little bit with this palette this month because my Project Level Up palette shares a lot of similar colors to my Pan That palette, which I didn't realize when I rolled it in. I actually thought that they would complement each other, but they've ended up clashing, and I have two shades from this palette that are almost identical to two shades in my Project Level Up, and I'm on level 3, so you know, I'm just trying to debate like which one to work on. And I think I've put a lot of focus in my Project Level Up palette, so this one has taken a little bit of a backseat. However, I do have some new pans to share, which is exciting, and some progress on some other shades as well. So, you know, it's not all bad, but I feel like I haven't been able to focus on this as much as I planned to and as much as I wanted to. I'm also in this video going to update my little side hustle project. If you're not familiar with what I'm doing, every single month I pick the shade that corresponds with that month's first letter. So for March, I'm going to pick a shade that begins with M, and I'm just doing alphabetically. So the first shade in my collection that starts with an M, I'm going to focus on that shade for the month of March. I've done January, February, and so I'll do a little update of the shade that I've been working on in February. My goal isn't necessarily to hit pan on those shades, but it's just to give them love. It's additional use on that shade where I'm neglecting it. And I'm obviously making sure that that shade is not already in another project, because I don't want to double up. I want to make sure it's definitely a shade that I don't have in a project currently. And if I roll it, and obviously if the first shade alphabetically is a shade that I'm working on, I'll just move on to the next one. But anyway, I'm going to update that as well because I feel like it's going to be a quick video. But let's get into my Pan That palette. So I will put up on the screen what it looked like last month. If you're not familiar, I have dropped this palette a couple of times. So it did look a little beat up the last time you saw it. It still looks very beat up, but I have not dropped it since, so I'm very, very happy with that because yeah, a few of you, maybe not on YouTube, but a few of you commented on Instagram sort of hinting that I was dropping it on purpose, which I was not. I know it was just a joke, but I am not. Okay, so yeah, you can see what it looks like. Okay, let's show you what it looks like now. I've used the palette only 9 times this month. But I do feel like there's changes. Obviously I said that there's new pans. I don't know if you can spot them straight away. But yeah, this is what it looked like. So so this one I do feel like has changed. I've only used the shade once though. It's just because I've dropped it so many times, it has become very, very powdery. I've only used Rise and Shine once as well. This is one of the shades that clashes with my Project Level Up palette, which is the Honey from Colourpop. There is a shade in that one that is almost identical to this one. So I just haven't really been wanting to grab this because I have it in the other palette. Spiced I've used once. Perezzo I've used twice. I think this one has expanded. Coconut I've used 3 times. Dijon I was hoping to hit pan in because I have put quite a bit of focus on it. I've used it 4 times, but I do not have a pan. This one also clashes with the Honey from Colourpop. There is a shade in there which doesn't look like it's identical, but they are identical because I popped this one on the lid and then I use the other shade in the Honey and it doesn't come up. So they're like the same shade. It looks deeper in the Honey, but I think it's just the packaging that makes it look deeper. But anyway, this one I've used 4 times. I was hoping to have a pan. I do have a pretty deep dip now, so I think next time I will. Sea salt I've used once. I don't think that's changed. Sea salt is absolutely horrendous at this point. It obviously has so much of, I think, this shade in there. It's not even white anymore. And so it's kind of hard to use because it's just, the pigment is just ruined. Fuego I haven't used. Sip Sip I haven't used. Bajama I did hit pan in it. I used it once. And I think you saw that in the last update. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember actually. I think you did. Tropicana I used twice. Then there's Caliente I used once, Cocoa I used 4 times. I think this is a good shade when I'm doing my orange looks like today. I think this works really nicely as opposed to this one. This one's a lot richer in color and this one works better when you go more like red. But when I go more yellow, this has a little bit of a yellow undertone to it. It's a little bit uglier of a color, but it works nicely and I have that on today. So yeah, maybe I'll hit pan on this one at some point in a month or two. Fortuna I have used once. I don't think that's changed too much, maybe tiny bit. Royal I've used once. Disco I've used once, and I do have a pan in that if you can see. So that one's changed and I have not used Nightlife. So there's about 4 shades that I haven't used this month, which is Fuego, 3 shades. Fuego, Sip Sip and Nightlife. But the rest I have, and yeah, I've enjoyed it. I'll put up on the screen what the looks look like. I mean, they mostly look the same. They mostly look like this. I have quite a bit of it on today, but I also have quite a bit of the honey on today. I'm trying to pair them together, but yeah, I don't know. I really want to get that Project Level Up finished. So I think it's going to be another month or so where I'm sharing the shades between this palette and that palette. And then once that palette's done, then I can really focus on this. But right now I have to kind of share the load and it's a little bit annoying. And a lot of the focus is going on the other palette because that one can be rolled out once I get the uses. Obviously this is here all year long, so I have a little bit of time and I don't feel too much pressure to work on this because I have the time to do it. So I work on it when I want to and I grab it when I want to, and I think that's working fine. And as long as I'm getting progress every month, I'm quite happy with that. I think for next month I definitely want to see a pan in Dijon. I've just been using it and I know I'm going to continue doing similar looks today, so that one I definitely will use and hopefully a pan. I kind of would like to use sea salt more just to finish it so I don't ever have to use it again. Even when it wasn't ruined like this, I didn't really like it. So yeah, and it's just sitting there. I think I'm gonna try to figure out a way to use that, and maybe, you see, some people might say, oh, just put it in a body lotion and stuff like that, but I don't use body lotion, so I can't think of other ways to use it other than as an eyeshadow because I don't generally repurpose products like that, or I just don't use body care items all that much. So and it would be a really, I mean, maybe I could try to do it as a nail polish, but I don't know, I haven't been painting my nails recently, so I've just been, neglecting a lot of those things. I'm going to try to focus on these two because I do want to get this one out, and this one I think naturally I will hit pan in it, and then the rest I think we'll just see how it goes. Be nice to get more of a dip on this one because I am forming a little bit of a dip, but otherwise I don't think I want to make any other predictions. This one might change a little bit because it's very powdery, but yeah. That is my update for my Pan That palette. I'm enjoying it, as I said. I'm just struggling a little bit this month just with the clash. All right, so moving on, for February, I've been working on a shade in my collection. It's actually a single because I depotted this from one of my Makeup Revolution palettes, from, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. LA Dreams palette. It's actually a Makeup Obsession range, but it is the shade Fame, and I've been working on this. So it's just an icy, frosty pink shimmer. It's not very good, and as you can see, I have had some hard pan on it. I've only used this 4 times. I've kind of struggled with this one. I actually feel like I want to declutter it because I do think that it's a little bit annoying and I don't think it's special enough to keep. I'm not at the point where I'm going to declutter it today, but I think it's on my radar now for when I do a declutter to get rid of this, because I don't see the point in keeping it. And I could just depot it and keep this little magnetic, I have a little magnetic magnet on the back of this pan, so I could maybe put another shadow in here at some point, or just like have an empty one to spare for whenever I need it. Because yeah, I don't know, I don't really care for this. So yeah, that was insightful to know. I did use it 4 times, mostly just all in my inner corner. So moving on to the shade that I'm going to be rolling in for my little side hustle from March. As I said, I filtered and I listed all of the shades in my collection alphabetically. Obviously shades that don't have a name, they just won't be included in this because I have a lot of palettes that just don't have shade names and they're just excluded. I mean, it's not my fault, but I do have a lot of shade names. So the first M in my collection is actually from a brand new palette of mine that I haven't even tried yet, and it's from the Berries from Beauty Bay. I was going to grab this for my Shop My Stash, but because I had checked to see which shade would be my matte shade, I saw that a shade in here was going to be my new matte shade. I actually didn't grab it because I didn't want to have the crossover. So I kind of did a little bit of, you know, planning ahead. But anyway, the shade is actually this one called Macaron. So I think that's a fun shade. It's a matte. I really would, now that I have this palette out and I'm going to be looking at it more, it'd be nice to dip my hands in the rest of them, but I will focus on this shade a little bit more, and I think it's a good shade because it's kind of a little bit of a vibrant, almost neon peachy red, and that's kind of cool. So yeah, we'll see. It's also very pink. I mean, it's one of those really weird shades. It's like a corally pink neon matte, and knowing Beauty Bay, I'm sure it'll be really beautiful. So yeah, I think I'm actually excited to start using this palette, but yeah, I'm gonna focus on that. It'll be interesting to see if I can hit pan in it, to be honest, because Beauty Bay shadows are pretty, I don't think that's very hard to hit pan on, but yeah, it's a brand new palette, so I'm not like aiming for that, but it might happen. It depends on what type of looks I do. I don't know if I'm gonna do a lot of berry looks, but yeah, so I'm gonna be rolling this. This is exciting. All right, that is it. That is my update for my Pan Nut palette and my little side hustle. Thank you so much for watching, and like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see you next time. Bye.